Karma Yoga can be called as the path of excellence through action. And as we discussed, we are constantly performing action. Even when we sit still, it is karma in itself. And through that, every mundane activity of our daily life, right from chores to cooking a meal, eating a meal, listening to someone, cultivating habits, everything becomes a medium to move towards excellence. And this is where, as Swami Niranjan Saraswati ji says, that practice yoga from moment to moment. Because we can meditate and we can practice Hatha Yoga and all the other abhyasas for 1 hour, 2 hours. But what we do in the remainder of the time, that's where yoga becomes a lifestyle and a way of life. And the means for that is Karma Yoga. Before that, let's acknowledge the importance of living in this material world. There's always this separation between the material and the spiritual. And yes, many aspects of this worldly life are not conducive to the spiritual path. It's true. But then at the same time, we can never escape our problems. As per the laws of nature, we have to undergo all our karmas, we have to undergo the lessons we have to learn. The soul has to learn these lessons to evolve. And it's easy to think about leaving everything behind and sitting in a cave and meditating or not doing anything and just practicing meditation and nothing. But at the same time, we have to realize that even if we leave behind responsibilities, family, ambitions, and desires, the source of misery as well as happiness is within. Everything on the outer world is just a mirror to these experiences which happen within. All the opposites that we talk about pain, pleasure, good, bad, success, failure, happiness, sorrow they're all within us. And even if you renounce the world, the higher renunciation is only relevant when we renounce the limitations of the ego, arrogance, jealousy, hatred, resentment. All these things have to be dropped, and that is a true renunciation. Because as Swami Shivananda Saraswati ji says that a sannyasin can be, or a yogi can be sitting in the Himalayas, but he or she may be very attached to his loincloth and the kamandalam and all his limited possessions. But a person living in the world might be in the world but not of the world. He or she might have possessions, but they may not be attachment to them. And when they are not there, the mind is still at peace. So escapism can be subtle, and renunciation, withdrawal from this world, solitude is only recommended when most of the karmas have been exhausted. Because if we retreat with the mind that is very agitated and we sit for meditation, then most likely we're just fighting with ourselves. At the same time, if we move into ekanta, solitude, but the mind is constantly troubled and agitated without the foundation of karma yoga and other yogas, then most likely we won't really be able to benefit from that solitude. Hence, the masters recommend solitude only when the mind has been rendered calm, because that's when we can truly go within and use that time. There's no point of solitude when the mind is agitated and dissipated, because then we're just wrestling with the mind the whole time. And as we have been discussing, the material world is a playground to evolve spiritually. Every action that we do, whether it is family responsibilities, duties at job or work, whether it is pursuing hobbies, passions, everything that we do, even the most mundane act of cooking a meal or eating a meal is a means to evolve spiritually. And it is recommended by the scriptures that the progress on this path, on the spiritual path, is much faster when we perform karma yoga. Not just doing actions as a mechanical routine, but becoming completely aware of every thought, every feeling, every action, and using that to make it a spiritual process. As we have discussed, karma yoga is the yoga of action, and karma means action, but when we add yoga to it, it means we're adding a sense of awareness. And as yoga means union, we are also looking at union Just like how in Bhakti Yoga, the union is between the devotee and the Ishta, the favorite deity. Same way, in Hatha Yoga, the union is between Ida and Pingala, the two forces, the pranic, the mental and the pranic forces in the body. Every yoga will have its own goal of union, and in this context of Karma Yoga, we have to have that union and harmony with ourself, the activity or the action we are performing, and the outer environment. That's very, very important. And then when this happens, we become a witness of what's happening. So, in a way, Karma Yoga is a path of dynamic mindfulness or meditation. The whole premise of Karma Yoga is complete involvement and absorption in the work. Because what happens is, whatever energy is lost thinking about the outcome, whether it is, one wanting praise or one wanting comfort or finances or name and fame, whatever be the desired outcome, if we keep dwelling on that, one is we don't give 100% to the action. And secondly, it does not let the mind be one pointed. And one of the aims of Karma Yoga is to make the mind one pointed. And Karma Yoga is based on selfless actions and giving. Ultimately, we have to move towards giving, and that's where Karma Yoga will translate to Seva Bhava, the sentiment and the attitude of giving and putting others before oneself. It's also a healthy way of channeling desires and ambitions, because if we don't give desires a healthy outlet, then they can lead to frustration. At the same time, if we keep fulfilling desires and if we move towards the excess of indulgence, again, that's going to lead to a lot of imbalances in the mind. Hence, we have to use karma yoga and whatever, whether it's an ambition to make money, to grow in the corporate world, to be of service to others. These are all desires, and the main aim is how can we use our desires to benefit others and oneself as well, and use the desires and ambitions for a higher purpose, not limited to just hoarding, not limited to just sense gratification. And everything we do, we can make it an activity to enhance our efficiency and creativity. Swami Niranjan ji has said that always aim for excellence and creativity in every action. And whatever is you're bound to achieve, you will certainly achieve that. And in this regard, Karma Yoga becomes yoga in every thought, action. Everything we do becomes yoga. It's not limited to the 1 hour yoga abhyasa on the mat where we move, breathe, and chant, but everything that we do is yoga in itself, and Karma Yoga is the means for that. But it has to be performed with total awareness, involvement, and detachment. As we acknowledged, involvement in the process completely and not being attached to the outcome, which is easier said than done because we are always trained, we are conditioned to always do something only when we have a benefit uh, in return. We always want something positive as an outcome, but we lose the understanding that we'll always have an outcome which, maybe sometimes give us pleasure, but sometimes also pain. And that's just the nature of life. And that's why, with this approach, we can really train the mind to become one pointed, where while doing the action, we're just aware of that action, and the mind does not think about the outcome. And then, whatever outcome we receive, we accept it with gratitude as a learning lesson. If it is as per our like, then we welcome it with gratitude. If it's against what we want, if it's as per our dislike, then we just take it as a learning lesson and learn from mistakes and do better the next time. And this is a razor's edge path because it is the harmony of internal and external. We have to also become aware of what's happening within the mind, because when we practice karma yoga, we're not just focusing on the outside activity and interactions, but we're also seeing what response or reaction it is triggering within us. That is the main aim, because if we're talking about karma shuddhi and chitta shuddhi as a means of cleansing the mind, then we have to be aware of that dialogue between the external world and the inner landscape. And that's where we have to always tread the path where we're not too extroverted, where we're not too withdrawn, yet we are in the middle. We're doing the activity, yet we're aware of what's happening within us. And through that, we learn. It is a more suitable path for modern times in everyone because all of us are wired to perform action. Even doing nothing and sitting still is a form of karma in itself. And because in today's times we're all so busy and active, it's very important to use that karma that we're performing as a means to evolve. And also, it helps to integrate the experiences in sadhana. Because if we are experiencing any benefit in the sadhana, say a peace of mind and a relaxed body after hatha yoga, then that extends into our karma yoga off the mat. And vice versa, if we experience certain clarity or comfort, or even say if we experience certain challenges in karma yoga, we bring them back to the sadhana on the mat. And then we find perspective. We release certain tensions, we release suppressed emotions, and we find clarity about any patterns that we need to learn. And this is how we become aware of our limitations. We become aware of our limitations because in solitude, when we're by ourselves, when we're meditating, we are definitely in a calm state, calm, grounded balance. But when we interact with the world, when we deal with others, personalities, egos, and all the biases, then that's where we truly become aware of our limitations. And I strongly believe that collaborative environments are very essential to grow in terms of making us more humble, tolerant, patient, and accepting. And thus we reduce the conditioning of the ego. And karma yoga supplements other parts of yoga beautifully. For instance, when we perform karma yoga, the mind, a lot of the, you know, especially if it's a physical activity, the tension from the body is released. The mind is sort of rendered calm. And then that helps us to move for meditative practices of Raja Yoga, where we can sit still. We're not fighting the mind, because of that foundation with Karma Yoga. Same way when we practice Karma Yoga, it helps us to become more aware of our body when we're doing Karma Yoga, and that helps Hatha Yoga on the mat. Vice versa, Hatha Yoga will help us to be more mindful with our movements and our sense organs and motor organs in Karma Yoga. Same thing with Raja Yoga, as we discussed. When we practice meditation, that sense of calm and clarity will help us in Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga will also give us understanding of jnana. So it supplements every path of yoga.